Almost. Go live. Okay. Oh, it's working. Yay. I always am so happy when it goes live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bitcoin Peace and Music. I have two beautiful humans here who are making the world a better place with Bitcoin, with education, with building water wells, with building schools. We have Scott Sibley and Yusuf Nessary here with Built with Bitcoin and SHAmory. Welcome, gentlemen. Woohoo!
Thanks for having me again, Valerie.
It's great to be here.
Thanks, you guys. So a whole bunch of stuff's been going on lately. Let's talk about building a water well in Africa with you guys. And so I want to understand, first of all, let's talk about each of you and your backgrounds. And then how did you two come together to decide that this is a project that you want to be rocking? Scott, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Go ahead, Scott.
So I think it's probably been about 2 years since Yusuf and I first chatted. Kind of coincided shortly after Mallory and I launched SHAmory, and I just kind of became aware of the work that Built with Bitcoin was doing, and the whole education side, building schools in Africa, encouraged me to reach out. And Yusuf, being the awesome guy he is, responded. We got to chatting. He's got some kids in his life, so at the time it was just our game, so we got the game in his hands. And then, over the past 2 years, it's been awesome to work together as our teams kind of spread that education and learning, not only here in the States, but in the places that they're touching. And so, our first project was very simple, just kind of, hey, let's donate some books, donate some games, get them in the hands of the kids down there, which is awesome. It's kind of grown from there. Last year at the Miami conference, we were able to donate a portion of our sales to be able to support partially building a water well. So the well got built. It wasn't just from us, obviously. It was from some other great supporters as well. But we had that. And then fast forward to where we are now. One of the biggest questions Mallory and I always got asked was, when are you going to make a plush toy? We have all these cool monster characters. When are they going to, when they're going to come to life even more? And so as we started thinking more about that, the idea came, let's not just make another plush toy. Let's have some good with it. And obviously the first place to turn is continuing our partnership with Yusuf and the team. And so that's where the idea of the SHAmory water well project came to life, which we can touch on more in detail as we go forward.
Awesome. I love it. Yay. All right. And Yusuf, what about you? Let's tell everybody what is your background and how did you guys, obviously Scott gave us a little, how'd you guys connected? So let's see what Built with Bitcoin's up to. Oh, you're muted. There you
Apologies.
go.
So where to begin? About 10 years ago, I started my first nonprofit. It was a traditional fiat-based organization called Zamzam Water. Mm-hmm. And the mission was to build water well projects in Africa and in the Middle East. And through my experience, I was able to, through my experience of travel, be able to see different communities and the different circumstances and situations folks were living in. And in my mother country of Afghanistan, I started building a very large, significant project. And it was right around during Ramadan. And we see this contribution coming in, but it was flagged by our financial platform that we were using at the time. The reason why it was flagged was because of where the donation came from and the amount of the donation itself. And so what this required me to do was reach out to this potential donor and thank them, of course, for their anticipated contribution, but then on the same breath, in the same email, ask them if there is a possible other form of payment that they can make. You can imagine the discomfort or the level of me feeling uncomfortable asking this from this person. I didn't know who they were. They used a pseudonym. I think it was a Proton email, if I'm not mistaken. And they responded back to me with one line: "Do you accept Bitcoin?" Nice. ? And I had absolutely no idea what Bitcoin was. And when I mean no idea, I copy and pasted his question, what is Bitcoin, basically, and put it into Google. And that's how I found out about what Bitcoin was. And you can imagine all these different things came up on the search engine. But it was this kind of peer-to-peer interaction that I was having with him back and forth via email, where I was orange pilled. And, oh, well, what about this about Bitcoin? What about, and then responding to an answer that I could actually utilize within my organization at that time. And the person on the other side of that email was Ray Yusuf, who is the co-founder of the Built with Bitcoin Foundation. And so, we all know Ray, we all love Ray, but Ray truly opened my eyes to disrupting a very archaic, traditional industry, global industry that is charity, and kind of make it better. And we can dive more deeply into that, about how Bitcoin has affected the nonprofit sector, at least for us. But our mission and our vision has always been education.
Yeah.
Whether that's through infrastructure, building schools, whether that's through classes for Bitcoin and financial literacy, but also around education is access to clean water, access to sustainable energy, access to vegetation. So we wanted to create a foundation that catered through a very holistic approach of connecting and building relationships with community members, not just saying, hey, oh, you guys look like you are poor and you don't have any water, let me go build a well and just leave. No. It doesn't work that way. We have to build trust, right? And we have to have authentic, genuine relationships with these folks. And to many regards, I consider them my second family when I go and visit. And so our partnership with Scott and Mallory and SHAmory is something that was, fit like a glove. There's no denying the synergy there. There's also heart and purpose around their mission as a for-profit business. And they put purpose over profit all the time. That's why I'm very privileged to be able to work with Scott and his family, and to see how these chamois can get out to the rest of the world, and we can bring clean, fresh water to a community in Africa with it.
This is so amazing. So let me ask you guys this. So how do you probably know Scott Harrison of Charity Water?
Of course.
Yeah. And so how are you aligned with that project in any way with what you guys are up to? Is it modeling kind of what they do? Or I'm just curious how there's, because there's obviously so many wonderful projects out there. I'd be curious what that looks like.
So I actually met Scott in 2000, the other Scott Harrison, Scott H, at the Vatican in 2017.
At the Vatican?
Yeah. So funny story. I got invited to speak at the Vatican at a water conference there. It's called the Watershed Conference in the beginning of 2017, before I found out about Bitcoin, actually. And we were there representing as a millennial group of young social entrepreneurs dedicated towards eradicating the water crisis globally. And Scott was there, and he presented one of the best presentations that I've ever seen my entire life. In fact, I've learned a lot about public speaking from Scott, because he is an amazing storyteller. And so if there's one thing, Val, that I can say that we kind of want to be able to mirror or show appreciation and acknowledgement for, is the storytelling aspect of what Scott and Charity Water has done and continues to do. And that comes from very authentic, genuine interactions with people on the ground, right? You cannot fake those relationships. You can take photographs, you can do this, but if you notice on our socials, we don't necessarily take photographs of individuals in very vulnerable situations. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in showing young children carrying certain things or showing their faces in very dire circumstances in order for us to raise funds. In fact, we like to do the complete opposite. We like to showcase individuals in those communities for who they are as human beings. And I appreciate what Charity Water has done, and many other organizations. There's no one perfect organization, right? It's just a matter of efficiency in this line of work, how to save time and how to save money.
Yeah. Yeah. And then measure your results is huge. Oh, yeah. Obviously, that's such a big thing. And I'm working on another project right now that's a data driven nature project. And I'm trying to help them integrate Bitcoin in with micropayments for people to collect data on a long-term basis with these projects. So we'll have lots to talk about on that for sure. Sure. And so, but you two things you had mentioned, Yusuf, and I think this also, Scott, speaks to what you guys do with the storytelling is such a huge part of, getting into people's hearts and their understanding of certain things in this world. And so, obviously, Scott, what you guys are up to deals, is more for the younger kids. I mean, 0 to 100, obviously there's a kid in each one of us, but I think it's super important for us as Bitcoiners to understand the power of telling meaningful stories, that land with the particular audiences that we're speaking to and trying to support, and build rapport with. And so what was so powerful to you, Yusuf, about that storytelling? I'm just curious. I'd love the audience to know, like, what hit home for you as so powerful?
So there was a statistic that he utilized, but the way that he did the statistic was very meaningful. It was along the lines of, there's 900 children every single day that become sick from waterborne diseases and that die. And this was 2017. And I can't refer to the data point itself, but it was a very significant, alarming number, which I'm sure the number is far greater, because how can you collect data like that on a daily basis in a very efficient manner? The point being is, when you can look at a statistic outside of just numbers, but actual people, that is what I feel makes Bitcoin philanthropy versus fiat charity different. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I consider BWB, the Built with Bitcoin Foundation, to be a philanthropic endeavor, not a charity organization. Charity, to me personally, and this is not a knock on anyone else that considers themselves a charity, is very short-term based. It's like a Band-Aid effect. And I believe in a long-term effect. I believe in fostering and creating, or supporting, I should say, communities that can become independent. I don't want members of the places that we work with to look at us as funders. I want them to look at us as partners, but that they can themselves bring themselves out of poverty with the necessary resources, right? Whether it's water, electricity, vegetation, internet access, financial literacy, knowing and understanding what money is, for that matter, right? To me, the way that he relayed that information, it wasn't the message itself, but the messaging of the message. That really stuck to me, and that's something that I try to do my very best to convey and relay anytime that I'm speaking, whether it's in an interview, on stage somewhere, or most importantly, the most nerve-wracking is when you are in front of the community members themselves. That is, I don't get nervous, I don't get anxious many times, but because you feel the weight of the obligation when you are in front of parents that are going to a school, Scott and Valerie, that we are about to open up, that was built with a Bitcoin. Why should we trust you with our children? Why should our children go to this school, drink from this water, eat from this vegetable in this garden, and learn and invite you into our community? It is a privilege, not a right, right? So all of these things, I believe, have benefited our mission. It has benefited our messaging. And I truly believe that it has benefited Bitcoin overall, because when Bitcoin does well, we all do well, right? But let's take Bitcoin outside. Let's move that away from the equation. The human being aspect. We consider ourselves a humanitarian organization, and I think Scott can attest to this, that we can't forget about the human being when we're talking about Bitcoin, right? We talk about Bitcoin all the time, that it's freedom money, it's self-sovereignty, it's permissionless, it's inclusive. But let us not forget who it is including, and that is the human being.
Yep.
Yeah, big time. I want to share something with you, Yusuf. 2 years ago at Bitcoin Miami, when you and Ray were on stage, do you remember? You guys were there together?
We met you. That's where I met you.
No, well, you met me last year, actually.
Okay, at the conference, yeah.
At the conference last year. But 2 years ago, I was sitting in my pajamas watching you guys and on YouTube here at my house. And
streamed. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And so because of you and Ray and Alex Gladstein, I'm a maxi hardcore Bitcoiner. And like when you made me cry, like I'm going to cry right now. Like, you changed my life. Like, you changed the trajectory of what I'm doing on this planet. And I just knew, I'm like, I have to be a part of this movement, So I just want you to know that it's like what you're doing and getting up and sharing and using this tool for good is like, it's magic. It's changing lots of lives. You never even know, right? You never know who's got the ears on that are listening to your words. And so for anybody who's listening, like, use your voice, use it often, and use it, with love. And so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I am honored by your kind words, and just like you, how you've been inspired, thankfully, by me, I'm thankfully inspired by others as well too. And that's the beauty behind the ecosystem, is that we truly have people that we can connect with, that we can hear from, that are speaking to us, to our hearts. And when folks say that Bitcoin doesn't have any intrinsic value, I say, how about you take a trip with me? Let's go together. Okay, we'll go on a trip together. And I'll introduce you to the Immaculates of the world. I'll introduce you to the mothers and the fathers and the children of our communities. And I tell this to Scott all the time in our conversations. I can't wait until one day this guy can go with me and visit. And with this water project that we are striving to build together through our partnership, it would be an absolute honor and privilege to have Scott there on the ground, to be able to see the fruits of his labor and his family's labor, especially his young daughter, who he is raising to be a Bitcoiner. It's all love, right? I mean, it's circular. It's circular. You bring it, I bring it. We gotta recycle this positive energy amongst all of us, because there's a lot of FUD out there from people that are blind, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's just like a fire. It's a nonstop 24/7 fire hose of FUD. And it so much is disguised in, the greenwashing and all the other things, and get my token because it's going to save the earth, or all the other things. And it's like, people who want to believe in good and they want to go do good on the planet, they don't have enough bandwidth to go do as much research and due diligence as a lot of us have with Bitcoin, and to separate Bitcoin from all the rest of it. Right. And so they get bamboozled, And so to me, it's like, it's so important that we use our voices again as Bitcoin evangelists, to try to speak the truth and help people understand, because we don't have a marketing. We are the marketing department for Bitcoin, right?
100%.
So it's like, we don't have that, the fancy, campaigns that all these other things have that are misguiding people. And so I think we've got, in addition to the problem itself, whether it's food or water or, a horrible financial system, that is the problem. Then we've got these other people who are out there who are promoting false, solutions that are manipulative. So it's a lot to be this warrior. Like, we're these Bitcoin, we're love warriors. Hey, so Scott, so when do you think you're going to get to go do a journey and go?
No, we can't wait. All three of us, myself, Mallory, Charlotte, we want to get down there. Hopefully, in a perfect world, this project goes as we all hope it does. That water well gets to start to be built, and we get to be there to watch it come to life. We want to be able to meet the people that we've been able to touch from afar. Obviously, we get to experience it by hearing stories from Yusuf or the other Built with Bitcoin member teams, or people like Guanta, who's down in Africa, who Yusuf works with also. Being able to hear these stories secondhand is awesome. Or seeing the pictures or seeing the videos. That's, Yusuf touched on it. One of the great things that I think the Built with Bitcoin team does is capturing those moments in that positive way. So being able to kind of see our products down there and in the hands of these kids through those images and videos, it does help motivate to go further, and it helps motivates to do these projects and get on a plane and get down there and see it firsthand. So no doubt that's definitely on our list.
I love it. And so, okay, so this shot right here on the SHAmory website, so Yusuf, where are you in this photo?
This is Machakos County, Kenya. So so we have two schools that we built, a nursery school and a primary school. This is in the nursery school. children ages 3 to 6 years old attend. We got about 100, I want to say 120 or so students. And it's about a 2.5 hour drive outside of Nairobi. So we're talking about a community of probably 10,000 plus, where access to schools and education programs is not there, unfortunately, for a majority of them. Access to clean water is certainly not there, unfortunately. Access to electricity. And so our school systems are not just infrastructures for education. They're also, it's like building a small community where we provide the infrastructure of electricity in the form of solar power, water well systems for access to clean water. We build a small little farm/garden for vegetation, and as well as the schools themselves. So it's a very holistic approach, as I mentioned. And this project that we have in partnership with SHAmory is purchasing a plush toy that we call the SHAMmy, which is a beautiful name. And the SHAMmy, 21% of the proceeds of the SHAMmy itself goes towards this water well project. And we want to create, so there's many characters, as Scott mentioned previously, to the Goodnight Bitcoin book series, which Scott, of course, can shine on. But we want to be able to create characters associated with certain continents around the world to, I guess you can say, truly signify how Bitcoin is universal around the world. And this photograph that you see is taken, Valerie, this is the place that you met. We met actually, right?
Yeah,
in
it
Miami,
looks. I know. Yeah.
22. Yeah. So that's some of the staff that we have, some of the volunteers, and Scott himself. And this was the first time we met Scott in person.
Yeah, first time in person. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the conference itself provides such an amazing medium to be able to meet different types of Bitcoiners from around the world, all walks of life, different languages.
Yeah.
And again, that is what makes our ecosystem so beautiful, is that we have those peer-to-peer conversations and interactions with one another. And we've, sold, as it states, there are 52 SHAMmies already. And over $400 donated. So our goal is $7,000 for worth of sats for the water project itself. And alongside this water well project, it just doesn't just provide, water, but also Bitcoin education. So every project that we complete, whether it's cultivating a new farm or a garden, building an entire school, a water well project, providing health insurance for students, for example, or scholarships for that matter, we always provide a level of Bitcoin education, but more importantly, financial literacy. So we can dive a bit deeper into that, where Goodnight Bitcoin is helping with. But I would love for Scott to kind of touch on some of the different characters and some of the different locations that we want to, work for moving forward.
Yep. That's definitely part of the master plan. Like Yusuf talked about, the beauty of, intentionally, and it's worked out this way, of how Mallory and I have created SHAmory using the monster characters. We wanted those images to be things that, especially kids, could think were fun, engaging, bright, inclusive. So one of the things Yusuf and I talk about all the time is about how, these monsters that come to life. Here's Satoshi again in Art Either. They're inclusive to anywhere around the world. So it doesn't matter if we're doing this project in Africa, if we're doing it in Peru, if we're doing it in Southeast Asia, anywhere in the world, people can enjoy these characters, knowing that they don't look like anything other than fun things. So that's part of the reason why this works out so well between our organizations, where we can touch individuals worldwide without having to exclude anybody from race or ethnicity. And to Yusuf's point, the beauty. So this guy here is literally the only one that we have yet. So this is our sample that got created. There it is. So this is Charlotte's Satoshi. So you would have to pry this out of her hands to get it away from her.
She's got a one of one. It's unreal.
Exactly. Unbelievable. Currently a one of one. She goes to sleep with it every night. I promise you, she cuddles it. She actually, one of the byproducts that I don't think I even told Yusuf. So the way it is, she likes wearing it as a bracelet. So you can put your, so it can be a plush toy, or it can be a bracelet, or both. But anyways, so what we've done here is modified the original kind of design of the Satoshi character from originally our game, and then in Goodnight Bitcoin, and then now, and also If You Give a Monster a Bitcoin, the other book. But on there, instead of just holding a Bitcoin coin, we've got the symbol of Africa memorialized on there, along with the Bitcoin symbol. And like we talked about, every one of these,
that's amazing,
21% is going towards this project in Africa. Hopefully we get this water well funded, and we'll keep funding more projects in Africa using this toy. So this toy isn't going to die once the project is over. We'll just find the next thing to build. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll build an entire city in Africa. But who knows? But then the idea is, let's get this Africa project up and running. Let's make it a success, like we all hope and know it will be. I have no doubt. And then using right now we have 14 characters, but we can utilize those characters to keep building out the SHAmory line, so that as Yusuf is building projects around the world and all the different continents that are being created, we have a different one for each of those continents. And so this isn't just a one-off. This is part of a larger plan that the SHAmory team and the Build a Bitcoin team want to continue working on together to really have a worldwide impact. That's our behind the scenes master goal. And I have no doubt it'll happen, and there'll be more characters, and it can be things that people want to collect, have images of, and be able to want to support each of these different ways to be able to keep building these projects that'll have an impact on people's lives and the stories that'll come from it.
100%.
Yeah,
that's going to be so fun. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm getting like a little, can you? No?
You're fuzzy.
Oh no. Am I a little fuzzy? Okay. Okay, I know. Like, shoot. Okay, you.
We'll give it a second to come back in.
Yeah.
You guys talk. Yeah.
The other thing I'll just mention.
Go ahead.
Just to toss out. The other thing that I know I personally really like, I know Mallory does, is on the bottom of Satoshi's legs, we have embroidered each of our logos. So,
cool.
So that's there. And the nice thing is, I can't really do it with the way I'm in, but he does, if he's on a table, sit perfectly. So when he's sitting there, if you're showing it off at your house or wherever it is, the people will be able to see that cross branding there. So that's an enjoyable thing. For those that don't know, our daughter Charlotte is 3. She'll almost be 4. She is also, as Yusuf knows, traveling with us to Miami this year. So for those that swing by our SHAmory table, they'll have probably the youngest Bitcoin Bazaar worker in there, and be able to have that there. But super soft, super plushy. We didn't want to create something that wasn't going to be something the kids would like. So being have 3-year-old parents of our own, we knew the way to create those.
Okay, and so now both of you guys are starting to get a little jumbled. Oh no, this is not good.
We can still hear you, Val.
Sounds okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. And I can hear and see Yusuf okay.
One thing that I want to add on to that, if I may, to have a physical.
Good. That's the most important thing. As long as, okay, cool.
Uh-oh. You there, Val? Seems like there's a delay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
There we go.
Gotcha. Well, one thing that I wanted to add is, having
I'm here. Go ahead.
Something that's physical for folks to be able to actually touch and to be able to see, especially with the pre-orders that we have going out right now, as well as the purchases that they can have moving forward. We want these SHAMies to be part of a collective story, right? And that's why the collection is going to be so important, because it's going to kind of convey this journey that these SHAMies are going to be taking, and for folks that are purchasing them to understand that they're making a real impact, that this just plush toy can actually be a part of a bigger solution in bringing access to clean water. I mean, that's very powerful when you think about it, right? To be able to purchase a toy that you actually like and you can put in your office. Like, I can't wait to put mine up, alongside, all of my other, trinkets and toys up there and books. I think it's important to emphasize on the idea of being a part of something, right? We all want to have a purpose, and, to make it as simple and as convenient for folks to contribute back into the world, as important as water, in just purchasing for a few thousand sats, these plushies. I think, it's like a win-win situation. How can one say no to this? And I think once we get the first water project completed fully, right, then we can show that proof of work that this is a reality. This is real. We were a part of this, and we want to be a part of the next one and the next one and the next one. And imagine we build a water project on every single continent that these chamois would be available for, and on every single continent that we work in as a foundation. I think that's extremely powerful.
Yep. And just to touch on kind of the physical aspect that Yusuf was touching on, that, from the beginning, we've gotten questions like, oh, when you created SHAmory, why didn't, create the app version? Why is it a physical card game? Well, part of the reason was we wanted to bring that sense of physical to a heavily digital world and bring people together as a family or as friends, or however you're playing that game at the time, or now, with the books and now with the chamois plush toys. And so having that physical touch, really, we see it every day. We see it in our daughter. When people have come over the past couple of weeks since we've had this guy, I want to show you Satoshi, and then she'll, without at all, say,
I love it.
She'll say, "Oh, we have the continent there." And when she first opened it, she noticed that it looked different than the other Satoshi, characters, with Africa in there. She said, "Why is that white there?" And we told her, we're like, "Oh, that white is the continent of Africa. We're helping to build a water well through and now everybody that comes in and she tells them about Satoshi, she says, "Oh, this here, this white, that's Africa. We're helping to build a water well in Africa." Like, she just does it on her own. And so it's that physical,
wow.
It's just something that having digital is awesome, but seeing it, having her touch it, and hearing the stories of other people, I can't wait for, knock on wood, all goes smoothly. We should have some of these to sell in Miami for the conference this year. That should be when the first shipment arrives. So for those that'll be there, being able to see them in people's hands. As Yusuf mentioned, he's going down to Africa right before the conference. So we have a handful of them on speed order coming in to be able to take down there. And then, seeing the hands of the kids in Africa, over the next month or two, really being able to see that sense of physical come to life is going to be awesome.
And so how many do we need to sell to get the 7,000?
About 800, a little over 800.
800. And you're at 53?
Yep.
50 something on the website.
Yeah,
okay, we got to get that. That's going to be a mission at the conference for sure. We'll get these guys sold. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
So just, this isn't live on the website yet, but it will be soon. One thing that we'll be launching to help stimulate as well as giving back in another way, is we'll be launching a gift to chamois program where,
cool,
for those that aren't, maybe they don't have kids in their life or whatever, they might not want to buy one for themselves. So it's going to be two options. One, somebody can just come and buy, one or two gifts. SHAmory will handle the delivery and everything to hand it off to Built with Bitcoin. Yusuf, during his scheduled trips down to Africa, will get that in the hands of the kids. So that's one option for just anybody to come along and do. The second one is if this will probably be primarily organizations, but if there's people out there that want to do this, but if you want to essentially sponsor a classroom, you can come on. It's a kind of our bundle gift purchase, where you can purchase a bundle of 25. The SHAmory team will donate an extra 5, bringing the total up to 30. and those 30 will get sent down there. And if you do that, you get a few other things along. We'll put your logo on the website. You'll get a shout out in the video that gets created, that sort of thing. So that'll be live on the website, on the SHAmory website in the next day or two, hopefully, so that those options are out there. And actually, we have our first one was already purchased by, as been already mentioned, Ray from Paxful. So those first 25 gifts will be heading down with Yusuf in early May to be able to those kids.
Oh my God, that's incredible. You got, okay, so check this out. Okay, so my brain is always in like, how do I put chocolate and peanut butter together, and make something new and magical? So, okay, so Yusuf, I don't know if Scott has told you about Bitcoin Kids Month, which is a concept that we kind of came up with after Bitcoin Miners Month or Pleb Miners Month last year in August. And one of the moms, John DiGiacomo's wife, was like, oh, we're going to do all this kids programming during, Pleb Minor Month. And then she didn't have enough bandwidth. And I was like, well, what if we did a kids Bitcoin month, or Bitcoin Kids Month, and we just did all this different, material and get kids on podcasts and talk about all the educators and all the projects out there all over the world, and just make a whole month dedicated to all the Bitcoin kids on the planet, and all the future Bitcoin kids. And so that's something that we just very slowly, we've got a little Telegram group and we're like, let's see who wants to do what. But it could be really cool because we're looking at like summer programs for like, what are kids going to do during the summer? They need to have something fun. So it's like, let's help them make content and, maybe do some after school or summer camp type programs. So I think that could be something pretty interesting, to bring in what you guys are up to and, combine and like up level the messaging that's out there, around kids, because kids are the future, and obviously the more that they know, like, your daughter like is a Bitcoiner, she doesn't have to get unprogrammed like the rest of us old people do. She's getting the pure signal from you guys. So it's like, the more we focus on young people all over the world, and then having the kids teach each other, not us, I think it's going to be more impactful, for the future generations. So there's that, but I have this is an interesting idea. You guys might like this. So are you familiar with the Lightning Piggy?
From afar, yeah.
So the Lightning Piggy is an open source project that I met this gentleman, Richard, down in El Salvador, and he's doing, the Lightning Piggy. So it's like, okay, you can have like the display of how many sats do you have. And then he was going to have like the kids be able to sort of put the little display in any kind of, a piggy or whatever kind of animal, and they could make it themselves or they could buy something. But, like the old Swatch watches, you would switch the plates. But that's the thing. And so then the kids, instead of like a regular piggy bank, they'd have their like little, their Sats wallet kind of thing. And then I was like, well, I had an old idea. What if we did it and we had five buckets or 5 little segments that the wallet could be? So it would be 5, I call it 5 sides. So it's save, invest, donate, education, and spend. So that's a way to teach financial literacy. And if you have those on like 5 different little buckets, and so that way each child and even adults could have these, and then we could use the little chamois and like a variety of characters, plug the displays in, and then anytime grandma wants to send a birthday present, you've already predetermined like, okay, I'm sending you 100 sats. And they're going to go, 10% goes here, 30% goes here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the kids can start saving for the water well if that's what they want to, work on. Or they can decide, well, I guess I don't need that ice cream cone because I'm so close to getting that bicycle that I've been saving long term for. And so having it visually, digitally represented could be pretty, could be interesting, and they could have like little matching programs in their family. So this could be sort of an interesting little value add with the financial literacy, I think. Am I crazy?
No. I think it's a great idea, and the visualization of being able to let kids see how it's all being distributed makes perfect sense.
I think to y'all's point, when you begin to teach young children at a very young age to understand, not because you say, oh, I want to teach my children the value of money. Well, how about we teach them what money is first, right?
Mhm.
To understand how money is intended to operate. That's something that we strive for in our school systems,
Mhm.
but not only just for the students, but also for the parents of the communities as well. Because
Right.
once folks understand like what money is truly, like even for me, as privileged as I am being born in the United States, before I found Bitcoin, I really didn't think about, oh, well, how come the US dollar is one rate here versus it being when I go and travel to another country, it being a different rate? And
Mhm.
why is their currency different than our currency? And what is Forex and all that? I never thought about that. I
Yeah.
didn't know what arbitrage was. I didn't know how to spell it, right? Until I learned, no, I'll be honest to God, right? So
Yeah.
once I learned about Bitcoin and I was like, oh, and understanding how money works, that's when I started to find a different perspective for it and to understand that true discrimination, real discrimination begins financially. Financial discrimination is not what many folks talk about around the world, but is evident and clear in every part of the here, even in the United States, where there's so many people that are not just unbanked, but even underbanked. Oh no. Are you still there? Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Uh,
I just
yes.
keep going.
And
You guys are loud and clear.
underbanked as well. Like there's millions and tens of millions of people in the United States that are underbanked, right? And so that's why I don't solely focus on the Bitcoin aspect, but I allow the Bitcoin to inspire our curriculum to teach people about financial literacy. I'll give El Salvador for an example. We have built and repaired 2 schools there on an island community called Tasajera. And when the airdrop happened for the Bitcoin, the $30 that everyone was getting, they didn't understand how digital money worked, right? They're a dollarized economy. And so it was all paper. It was paper, it's all paper fiat. And so that's what led them to be scammed, was because they didn't truly have the education or the know-how around digital money, where these folks that they refer to as coyotes, they would come and say, hey, you guys can send me all of the Bitcoin that you have into my wallet, and I'll go and cash this out for you at the ATM. I'll come back and I'll give you it in cash, but I'm going to take 10% from this, or however much it is. I'll take $10, whatever it was. And guess what? They all did it, and the guy was never seen ever again, right? Because they told
Ugh.
him that this has an expiration date on it, that this money is going to disappear. So you guys have to cash it out. These folks, they don't have cars. They don't even have bicycles, unfortunately, to be able to travel from the island over to, a boat fare to travel on bicycle to the mainland to be able to go to San Salvador, which is like an hour and a half away from the island, to go and cash this out.
Mm. Wow. What do you think? Like, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, obviously, President Bukele rolled that out really fast. Like, how could this be prevented in the future? I mean, just slower. Like, would it be a slower rollout? You're frozen, Yusuf.
Yep. Sure, he'll be right back.
Okay. Come on, Yusuf. We're taking turns freezing here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. But okay, well, so we'll put a thumbtack in that for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Hi.
There you go.
Okay. But okay, so Yusuf, like, so obviously it was a fast and furious rollout, for El Salvador. Like, what do you think? Like, obviously it's more education for people so they don't get scammed going forward when other countries are trying to do this, or other folks might be attempting this. So,
Well, I mean, I'm not here to criticize any decision that's made by any governments. I'm here
yeah.
to to kind of share on how we as Bitcoiners, because it's our obligation as Bitcoiners to make to provide these solutions, and how can we improve. There's no
Right.
perfect process. There's no user's manual. that any president or prime minister or government entity can follow.
Sure.
But I think that the bottom up approach, that's my personal preference.
Yeah.
But there's others that believe in the top down approach, and that's totally fine. That's the beauty behind Bitcoin, is that it's universal to where anyone can choose freely how they want to be able to kind of move their education forward. But I believe those that believe in the top down and those that believe in the bottom up, we can meet in the middle, and we can be able to contribute towards all levels of education, right?
Yeah.
For us personally, it starts at the grassroots level. That's with everything.
I think that's good. I agree. I think it has the most sticking, as far as like long-term efficacy. The top-down approach certainly gets a lot of hype, and it's exciting, and people get like on the bandwagon a lot more, but it doesn't necessarily have the foundational level of people understanding it bit by bit by bit by bit and building that trust, like you said. This is for both of you guys. There's a race against time, in my opinion, right now. Like, we've got CBDCs around the corner. We've got all of this, just nastiness, in my opinion, that's trying to kind of come in and take over. And so I feel like the clock is ticking. And so we do have like, it's hard to do one at a time kind of person, but I agree. It's not exactly, we don't have the playbook. So what do you guys think about, like, how can we get adoption going effectively, smoothly, efficiently, at scale, to beat the Kraken CBDC, the monster, rawr.
I don't know. I mean, it probably doesn't have the fast component, but I think one of the components in the longer term is what Yusuf and I in our organizations are trying to do, is starting that with that bottom down, and not just bottom down, but bottom down in terms of age, starting with the kids, like you said earlier, Valerie. The children aren't going to be the ones that are going to have to be reprogrammed for this new world. However it transitions, they're going to just grow up in it. But I think that will be probably the most effective way. It won't be the fastest way, because they're just kids today. But that'll hopefully help kind of smooth out the process as the bumps inevitably come, as we've seen. And obviously over the past few months, like you're alluding to, through the the banking crisis and everything else that's gone on, more people who aren't into Bitcoin today, at least I've seen, they're recognizing things are shaky, things aren't right, there's odd things going on. And so I think that will organically allow people to start asking questions. Our personal approach, as it for Mallory and I, when it comes to kind of talking about Bitcoin, is to let people ask us questions. They know we have SHAmory. They know that we're interested in Bitcoin. They know that we're happy to talk about it. But if you're just pushing it on the person, they're going to probably push away. So, when they come to us naturally with questions, we're happy to answer it. But until that time, you just kind of got to let it run its course. And some people will ask sooner, some will ask later, some won't ask at all, and they'll maybe find answers other ways. And I think you also have to know the individual, because some people will grab it. They might be more apt to want to learn more about Bitcoin because they hear the stories from Yusuf and Built with Bitcoin, whereas other people might be more apt to learn about it because they understand what's going on with bonds and treasuries and the real estate market, and everything in between. Maybe some people are more on the climate side of things. So I think every individual, you need to really, it helps to know who they are and know their personality, because that helps you tailor their story. Because like we all know, Bitcoin can morph into thousands of different things. And when you kind of misalign that side of things, at least I've seen, that's what kind of brings up more hurdles, because you start talking about, building schools in Africa, but that person, they're like, okay, but this is about money and currency. How does that relate? Whereas somebody else might understand that and get where it's coming from. So I don't know, it's a mixture of all those options. You might have lost Valerie again.
I know.
She's back.
Yay, we're back. I'm so sorry, you guys. I don't know.
It's okay.
My daughter's
No worries
homesick.
at all.
I told her, I was like, don't be downloading videos while I do my podcast for an hour, please. But
It's all good.
It keeps coming in and out. But okay, so I really apologize for that. Okay, keep going.
I think I touched on all those.
I'll share a story with y'all.
Okay.
And Scott, I know you're going to appreciate this for what you just said. I hope so, I should say. We built our first school in 2017 in the country of Rwanda. And shortly after that, the following year, we built another school there in Rwanda. So it was a nursery school and a primary school. So as you can imagine, it's our longest standing project when it comes to school infrastructure. It still operates to this day. Close to 400 students go to school there every single day. So from 3-year-olds up to 12, 13-year-olds go to school there. And one aspect of kind of like our core fundamentals that we have within the foundation, which we've gotten a lot of flack for over the years, me personally I've gotten a lot of flack for, is that we don't obligate parents to either learn about Bitcoin or even use Bitcoin within the communities in which we build in. We do everything on a volunteer basis, meaning that if a parent would like to learn about Bitcoin, we provide them resources, we provide them literature, and also anything that they need moving forward beyond that. We don't ask them to invest in anything. That's why we don't shill any other type of altcoins. We've never done that. We will never do that. And in fact, we don't even promote Bitcoin in the sense that, oh, you should buy some Bitcoin right now because it's going to go up, rather than, allowing them to understand the functionality of Bitcoin and how it can better serve their lives. Because of that, many folks have questioned, well, if you guys are not giving them Bitcoin or telling them to use it, how are we ever going to get to that adoption, or how is it ever going to become a circular economy? So you don't build trust by forcing people to do anything. That's called fear, not respect, right? Mm-hmm. And Rwanda currently has absolutely zero advocacy for Bitcoin, but yet that school still stands, and yet that school still promotes and advocates for Bitcoin, and the community members slowly but surely come to want to learn more about it, especially with what has happened in the global economy. So there's already marketing happening for Bitcoin advocacy without Bitcoiners doing it ourselves, right? They're seeing, and that's unfortunate, because that means that their quality of life is diminishing financially because of COVID, because of inflation, because of wars that are happening around the world, because of the purchasing power decreasing and devaluing with the US dollar. All of these things that are pending, it's doing a job for us in the work that we're doing. But with that being said, I think it's important for us to continue to understand that it's not about time here. Bitcoin is 13 years old. It's not even 2 decades old, and yet look at what we've been able to accomplish as a community. And to Satoshi's point, which I feel that Satoshi himself or herself was an African, okay, because he created this bad boy. He or she created this bad boy for the continent itself to benefit from. I think we shouldn't look at time, but I think that we should look at the engagement that we're having with people on the ground. And I'm biased, obviously, and I don't hide that whatsoever, that I feel that the bottom-up approach is one that's most impactful. Mm-hmm. But to your point, Valerie, like the top-down creates a lot of signal and sometimes noise, but a lot of signal as well too, where it kind of puts Bitcoin at the forefront. And what's happening in El Salvador, I truly appreciate every day. There's a lot of friends that we have there. Max and Stacy are doing amazing work on the ground there. You have, the folks at Bitcoin Beach, obviously, who are doing amazing work, but just Bitcoiners within El Salvador who had to have the courage to kind of push this through. And look, if you haven't had a chance to travel there to El Salvador, I would highly recommend going. It's a beautiful place. I tell this to people all the time. Bitcoin brought me to El Salvador, but it's the people that make me want to come back every single time. And I've been there a dozen times in the past year and a half.
Wow.
And every time I go, I'm like, wow, this is possible. This is a reality. And God willing, inshallah, a lot more countries will follow.
Yeah, I hope so too. What about you guys with like Me Premier Bitcoin? And I'm just thinking with the SHAMies, you know, and like maybe everybody who gets a Bitcoin diploma, you know, from Me Premier Bitcoin also will get a SHAMI. Like that would be kind of a cool little combo thing to
That's
like partner with them.
unbelievable. Yeah. No,
There
they're
you go.
amazing.
Yeah,
they do
totally.
amazing work.
Yeah,
So
they're doing awesome work, and we know Dahlia from Me Premier well, and she's actually working to implement some of the SHAmory stuff into the curriculum they're doing. So, you know, when we come out with the El Salvador version of the SHAMI, it'd be a perfect 1, 2, 3 partnership.
And they said, yeah, because they're expanding. They're not just, I mean, they're going to start going in other countries and places. So this is something that, you know, I see a long love affair happening.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make an Australian version, we want to make an Asian version, a European version, a North American version, as well as a Latin version. So we want the entire world, and maybe we can make one for Antarctica for the polar bears. Who knows? At this point, you know, we need to position Bitcoin to be as universal as possible. It doesn't matter where you come from, what language you speak, what sexuality you are, what faith you are accustomed to. Bitcoin is for everyone. That's what the beautiful intrinsic value truly that it possesses.
And I'm gonna tell Charlotte that you said Antarctica, Yusuf, because last night at dinner, she was talking about going on a next vacation, and she told us she was taking us to Antarctica. So
yes, we can make a penguin version. Who knows? I don't know. Penguins are my favorite mammals, so
exactly.
I love penguins. But yeah. Imagine and then we build something there, or we provide some conservatory help towards a project there. You know, that would be unreal.
We'll make a monster with a parka on it. Wearing a parka, all bundled
That'd be
up.
sick. That'd be awesome.
Can I ask you guys this? Like, what do you just froze?
We can hear you.
Okay. Can you guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
I am so sorry. This is frustrating. What about, I'm just curious with like the follow-up and, you know, coming back from an earlier point I had brought up about like the long-term relationships that you're building with the wells, right? So you're going to start building these wells or whatever, you know, perhaps local communities are going to be needing the most, you know, where you expand to. What's the long-term relationship follow-up to say like, hey, now that we've got this well, we've saved 70 people, 2,000 hours a year of walking back and forth 2 miles to this other well, you know, kind of, I know how Scott does that stuff with his, are you guys, is that going to be integrated into the, you know, the communication and, you know, talking with folks?
Well, it's interesting because every data point when it comes to access or lack of access to water is relative to the location, of course, right? So if we want to speak on sub-Saharan Africa specifically, on average, the latest data point is women and children walk between 3 to 6 hours a day to retrieve water. And that's not clean water. We're talking about water from a wetland that's contaminated, polluted, it may not be enough, of course. And a lot of this travel, unfortunately, can result in gender-based violence as well. Why? Because there are some nefarious actors that wait around in these wetlands, in these areas, waiting for the young women to come around. And so it's dangerous to expect these young people, men, women, and children, to walk these long distances to access this water that may not even be clean or fresh for them to, or potable for that matter, to be able to drink. So they have to like boil the water or use, house remedies for filtration. I've seen someone use a dirty white t-shirt that used to be white was yellow, and putting it over a bucket from a jerry can, pouring it through the shirt, expecting that to be filtered enough to be able to drink, because they couldn't afford firewood, matches, and an igniter. So these are realities that folks have, because between the two organizations that I've built and work with, we've built close to 500 water projects around the world. So
Wow.
every one of them has a different story. And so within BWB, we've built close to 15 water projects in multiple locations around the world, or repaired certain water projects, like the one in El Salvador at the school that we have there. It was not functioning for years. So we were able to repair it, repipe it, replaster, all those types of things. The point I'm trying to make is that those data points are retrievable, but they take time to be able to retrieve, of course. A lot of times what happens when folks are referencing these data points, it's like a blanket, right? It's very generalized. I would like to do hyper-focused data on that specific region, hearing from the people themselves, right? So then we can kind of quantify and calculate the metric of success, meaning how much time were you able to get back into your life to be able to go to school, to be able to work, to be able to tend to your family, to be able to meet up with friends for coffee or something, like anything that they would like to do. This brings back something that you can't pay for, and that's time, because we never get it back, right? And so my metric of success for this is not the number of people that are affected by the water wall, because a lot of people are like, oh, how many people? 500. Oh, why is it not 5,000? Why can't you build this? It's more so like the quality of the impact versus the quantity of the impact. So there are some differences in those nuances from the larger organizations versus ours, where we try to focus on the quality of our projects. Not to say that the other side of that equation is wrong, not at all. But we would like to see what kind of trail or what ripple effect, pun intended, we can create with this, that can share usable data that, okay, one water project that was built, let's say in Botswana, provided on a yearly basis 7,000 hours back to this community. And then we can kind of quantify, what do they do with those 7,000 hours, right? How were they more productive? And that is a metric of success that we can utilize as well. So you had mentioned Valerie. Did we lose Valerie, by the way? Is she there? Are you there, Val? I think she's frozen.
She's frozen.
Oh, no. I was going to say, she had mentioned, Scott, if you remember in the beginning of the podcast, that she's working with a company about data. It would be awesome to kind of, if possible, to incorporate some of that into the work that we're doing as well. So we'll see.
Yep. Hopefully she comes
Val,
back.
are you there?
If you can hear us, we can't hear you, and you're a little frozen. And just to put it for those that are listening, kind of ramble on to that point, we will update anybody who purchases a SHAmory, gifts a SHAmory, whether it's through email communication, social media communication, however we can get those words out.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, the connection and the relationship building happens not only in the communities, but also those that are purchasing the chamois, because that community is just as important.
Yep, be able to see what you guys have built and helped come to life, because at the end of the day, it's not just the SHAmory team and the Built with Bitcoin team. We can't do it without everybody else that's supporting the project in one way or another. Even a simple retweet, that's just as important as anything else. Just help to get that word out there.
Raising awareness is extremely important.
Yep,
100%.
I don't know where.
Yeah. So Bitcoin, peace, and music is an amazing podcast.
We've hijacked it from Valerie, the new hosts, Scott and Yusuf. We'll be dropping new episodes every Thursday at 1 p.m.
Oh man, I hope Val's okay.
Yeah, give her a second to come back in.
Yeah, I remember when I met Valerie, she came up to our booth and she had mentioned that she had listened to Ray speak on stage, and when she referred to it in the beginning of our segment, I thought she was referring to this past year's 2022 conference. Hey,
Hey, you're back.
welcome back to our show.
We have a
Yay!
Welcome
hijacker
to
coming.
Bitcoin Peace and Music. It's
We
on
see
every
you than most.
Thursday.
Oh
Scott
my
and Yusuf.
God. That's so weird. I'm so sorry. I'm like
Not a
redoing
problem.
everything. I don't know what's going on over here.
It happens. No need.
So much energy. Um, okay, what did I miss?
We were shilling your podcast. We were just
Yeah.
throwing it out for the universe and letting them know that, subscribe, like, share, retweet.
Oh, and I guess the one thing you missed, Yusuf started bringing up the fact that if there's ways to connect the metrics that we're trying to capture from our project, the water project, with earlier you were mentioning your metric project. So if there's synergies there, that's another thing to explore. Yep, we might have lost you again, Val. Yeah. We'll give you another second. I know sounds like the listener can hear. Thanks for chiming in there.
Extemos, you're from El Salvador. Buenas.
And she's gonna, it was like last time, she'll probably pop back in a second and then probably wind down, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that on this.
We'll definitely let you know when the Salvadorian version is ready.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
We got to give one to the president as well too eventually.
Exactly. I'm sure the editing magic afterwards can cut this out for her.
Hopefully.
There we
Hopefully.
go. We did it.
Oh my God. I am so sorry. It keeps saying my internet's out, so I don't want to keep going back and forth. I feel horrible about this. So, okay, let's wrap up, and we're going to do another one at some point, but I want to promote you guys and everything.
We'll give everyone an update. We'll give an update on the next one. We'll say, hey.
Yeah, let's do an update.
100%.
Let's drop in. You guys are both going to be in Miami, right?
Yep.
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Hey, and guess what? I'm DJing Saturday night at the party. I'm not going to DJ. You guys got to come dance. Get your groove on.
Very nice.
We got to have some fun. So I'll be rocking Saturday night at the big after party. So that's going to be really exciting. But most importantly, I get to see you guys there. So that's going to be fun. Awesome. And Charlotte, I want to see you.
She's the real star, honestly. Exactly. Charlotte is the real star.
She will be there. She probably won't make it to the after party. So
probably not, but maybe her and Mallory can come. Natalie and I are in Cali. There's some of us. We're doing the ladies Bitcoin whatever thing on Industry Day. So maybe Mallory and Charlotte can come.
Cool.
And say hi. So that'll be fun.
We will definitely be inside on Industry Day at our booth. So be sure to buy and grab them.
Cool. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys. So I apologize for my technical difficulties.
No worries.
And okay, so last parting words for everybody. So we can make sure everybody knows where to go find you guys at builtwithbitcoin.org, at SHAmory.com. What if anybody who's listening right now through all of our technical fun stuff, if they're, curious about Bitcoin, what's the first thing you would tell them to go do?
I mean, the things that helped me the most were podcasts. And obviously there's different flavors of podcasts. So kind of what I alluded to earlier, so I think that's the easiest way, at least in my opinion, for people to start learning. Audio seems to be a very popular way, across the board when it comes to learning things. So I would say, go dabble in a few different podcasts, see which which you like the best. Obviously, Valerie has some great ones out there. So go find those and just kind of, don't be scared and start going down that listening rabbit hole and see where it takes you.
Right on.
The best advice that I could give anyone when they want to be able to learn about Bitcoin is to first learn about money and to understand fiat. I wish that I knew about fiat more than I did when I first found out about Bitcoin, because then I would have been way more aggressive towards it. And my orange pilling came at a point in my life where I changed my entire career for it, basically. And that was only because I was able to see with my own two eyes and have the privilege of being able to travel and see with my own two eyes what Bitcoin can accomplish and do. And I had a great mentor, and still do, in Ray, who I consider a big brother of mine. But if I was to say, the amount of Bitcoin education that is available now than in 2017 when I was first finding out about it, it's like 180-degree difference. It's night and day. And to Scott's point, there's amazing podcasts that are out there, including Bitcoin Peace and Music, that you all should subscribe to if you aren't already. But I would say to just be careful as well. Know what you're reading, know what information that you're digesting, and go at your own pace. Fiat first, understand money first, then you will truly be able to understand Bitcoin and its power.
And to use it, I'll give a plug. Looking Glass is an awesome platform to really start diving down. So Seb and Daz and the rest of the Looking Glass team, they've done an awesome job. I know we enjoy working with them. So to use a point around the what is money side of things, that's a perfect spot for those people to starting when you're, they kind of tailor it to, 15, 16 teenager audience on up through adults.
Yeah. Looking Glass is great. Isn't it great? Like, I'm just always so blown away by the generosity of this whole community, and just the time, the hours and hours and hours that people donate of their wisdom and skills and research, and they share it with everybody just because they know they want to move this mission forward for all of humanity for many generations to come. I've never seen anything like it. It's just it really blows my mind. So I'm so grateful. And you two are like, yay, my educator heroes. I love you guys so much. And thanks for inspiring my heart and, helping me learn and want to become a better woman and person on this planet. So thank you.
Thanks for having us and helping to spread the story.
Yeah, we thank you, honestly, for your generosity and your time, Val, for inviting us on and speaking about something that we're both very passionate about.
Yeah, I can't wait. And so, okay, so then let's, so we'll get, what did we say we have to get? 800? We have to get 800 sold. So we have got about 750 next. We have to get before, I think we can make it. We can make it happen by Miami.
That'd be awesome.
If we do, we'll make an announcement on stage. If that's the case, my goodness, I'll run on stage and make the announcement. That hey, we're building it here, guys.
Grabbing the mic. Get up there. We got the water well. Let's do it. That'll be fun. Like, so let's do like a campaign that has like, the little count or like the thermometer that's like, okay, we've raised this much for whatever. Like maybe we can do something like that for the water well, and like every day we can cross pollinate the on some social media to say like, okay, we've sold 100 or however it is. So maybe we could do something fun like that together. I'll be happy to cross promote. I know I'm small potatoes. I'm not like Joe Rogan or Peter McCormick or somebody, but it's okay. Every little bit counts. Exactly. I'm the bottom up approach. Right on. All right. Well, cool, guys. So everybody who's listening, please make sure you guys go follow Scott. And Yusuf, you can go to builtwithbitcoin.org and follow Yusuf's projects over there. You can go to SHAmory.com. You guys can go for Twitter, Built with BTC. And for Yusuf, you can have Yusuf on Twitter, Yusuf BWB. Scott is going to be Scott M. Sibley. And then also Play SHAmory on Twitter. So lots of fun stuff for you guys to go dive in and go get your chamois, and let's go get some clean water so people don't have to have a risky 6-hour walk to get fresh water. So yay, this is a great project. I love you guys so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Bitcoin Piece of Music. We'll talk to you soon. Aloha, everyone. Yay.